Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
There's nothing like an all-British heavyweight affair. And let's start with the main event. Whyte v Joyce. What are you expecting from this one, Frank?
I'm expecting both of them to put it all on the line, because the winner will go on and the loser, unfortunately, is going to drop down the pecking order. They're not young fighters. They're fighters probably coming to the twilight of their careers, and to get a shot now at a world title, it's a must-win, and the loser's career is on the line. It's a really, really tough fight, and it's a bloody good competitive fight.
Has Edward Hearn put too much focus in Anthony Joshua and forgot about the rest of the heavyweight division? When you think about it, yeah, Frank did Fury versus Klitschko on Sky Sports. And at that time, there weren't really much coming from Frank in terms of heavyweight action. He parted ways with Derek Chisora shortly before Fury fought for the title. And Derek ended up on Matchroom. We saw Derek against Whyte twice over there, knocking out Carlos Takam, knocking out Artur Spilka, beating up David Price. We saw David Price over Matchroom fighting Dave Allen, losing to Alexander Povetkin. Povetkin fought several times on Matchroom, twice against Dillian, once against AJ, once against Hughie Fury. Obviously, Joshua's contribution. Luis Ortiz even fought in there a few times. So all the heavyweight action was coming from Matchroom. And now, okay, Tyson Fury's retired, but Frank's got Dillian versus Joyce, Okolie versus Riakporhe, Adeleye versus TKV on one card. And let's not forget, Dubois defends his IBF title against Joseph Parker in a couple of days. What's Eddie got in the stash for domestic boxing in the heavyweight scene? Dave Allen versus Johnny Fisher 2. It's not even signed. They haven't even got that signed. Eddie had Martin Okolie, Michael Hunter, and he just let them go. He just let them go at the time when AJ was champion. He didn't even make the rematch between them two. Neither of them had lost a fight on Matchroom when he released them. Neither of them. So it looks like Frank has planned a little better pre-Tyson Fury. He's retired. AJ hasn't retired, but he's more at the tail end of his career than near the start, isn't he?
And that's what you're going to get on this show. Heavyweight action at its best. Even fights on paper. Between all of them, they got a 75% knockout ratio when you add up all the records.
I mean, Fabio Wardley was in the building. He used to work with Matchroom. Dillian, he used to work with Matchroom on a fight-by-fight deal. And Frank just basically kept it simple. You know what I mean? The card is called Heavy Impact. What do you mean by Heavy Impact? It's a lot of big dudes are going to throw big punches. There's going to be a lot of knockouts. And a lot of people are going to be like, sign me up. The security need to keep an eye on Riakporhe and Lawrence Okolie. You know what I mean? They don't like each other. Lawrence looks like his big brother, though. What is Lawrence eating? I've never seen no cruiserweight get as big as that when they moved up to heavy. Not one. Can't think of one. Richard looked small. Very small compared to Lawrence. Richard's just moving up to heavy. But he wasn't a small cruiserweight. Lawrence looked a little nervous when they faced off here. But he said facing off doesn't mean anything. And he always disengages first when he faces off anyway. It's not Lawrence's thing. Dev Sani, he did a lot of stirring. Did a good job. He was probing for a story about when it nearly went off between Richard and Lawrence in the cinema, and Spencer Fearon had to get in between.
I just don't like people that disrespect me, you know. That's all.
I didn't actually disrespect him. I went over to him and I said, Madonna's old now. And then they set it off instantly. So that was all. And then the rest was on camera. That's it.
You nervous, Richard? Just a little bit. I'm scared of a big hug. It might suffocate me. That's what I'm scared of.
Like I said, I'm going to deal with you. I'm going to deal with you in good fashion. And then you can go back to kissing Madonna or doing whatever you do in your modelling career. And we'll leave it at that.
Okay, we're going to see about that.
Richard kept his cool though this time around, but Richard's upset. There was no real animosity between Richard and Chris Billiam Smith. He had already beat Billiam Smith a few years back previously, and Billiam Smith is not a smack talker. Richard was awful against Chris Billiam Smith. That's the only way to describe it. It was an abysmal performance. But if he's not motivated with this Okolie fight, he never will be motivated. Never.
Away from Chris Billiam Smith.
You did a good job,
yeah.
And the best man won on the night. I asked myself this about you as well, so it's not like from a fan's point of view as such. Is your heart really in boxing? Because you're also known as the model. There's no bones about it. See you rocking up at Fashion Week, running around in the snow with wolves, and it's like, is this geezer really on it? And it frustrates me as well, because I'm one of these like love boxers, and I like to see what they're doing, and then when they divert away from boxing too much, I get bored, and I'm like, is he really on this?
I guess it's a narrative that was created by somebody. When you see certain things on the social media, it's easy to just take that as word and complete truth, you know. If I post up one picture, it can look like I'm doing something when I'm doing the total opposite. That's pretty much what's playing out here. And people are running with a narrative, and it's getting more popular. So everybody's asking the same thing. You know, when I look at myself, I know deep down where I am. Where my heart is, where my head's at.
Well, this is what we really want to see, though.
It's all about sacrifice, isn't it? You know, and boxing has always been my love, you know.
Big up October Red. Link in the description box. Sub the channel. Full video where October talks to Richard about the new hookup with Billy Nelson being his trainer now. That's interesting. His struggles at making cruiser. His mind state and why he underperformed against Chris Billiam Smith. And it's a bit of a deep dive. And the question needed to be asked, is Richard really about that life? Or is he about the runway? Because we know he moonlights as a model. And the question had to be asked even more so after the performance against Chris Billiam Smith, because I'm trying to think where I was more surprised at the anti-climax that I experienced when I expected a lot more from a boxer. But shit happens in a boxing ring, which a lot of us, and I'm saying me, would never understand. Richard is 35 now. He's not a kid. 17 wins, 1 loss, 13 inside the distance. Okolie, 21 wins, 1 loss. They both lost to the same man. They're only pro defeats, both against Chris Billiam Smith for that WBO cruiserweight title, which Chris took from Lawrence and defended against Richard. Okolie, like I say, 21 wins, 1 loss, 16 inside the distance. He has a 82.5-inch reach. Richard, 77-inch reach. They're listed around the same height, 6'5". At 35, Richard can't afford no slip-ups. Lawrence lost his cruiserweight title in unexpected circumstances, let's say. He's shown us flashes of what he can do as a boxer-puncher, but that's also came along with the clutch, hold, octopus reputation, which Richard alluded to in the press conference. Well, neither one of them can afford an indifferent performance, because it's literally winner stays on. I'm not going to say winner stays on, loser gone. It's winner stays on, loser will get recycled and appear on your TV screen in the mix down the line. Lawrence lost his cruiserweight titles to Billiam Smith in May of 2023. Cruiserweight limit, 200 pounds. December 2024, however, he weighed in at 260 for his heavyweight debut. Now, the question is can Richard put on enough natural size? Because Lawrence was mentioning it in the press conference. If Richard eats enough, he should be able to absorb a few more of his punches, and that might keep him in the fight for a round or two longer. Lawrence thinks he's going to get him out of there. And if Lawrence does have a considerable weight advantage, I don't see Richard coming in at 240 and 250 on his debut. I'm not expecting no more than 230. And if Lawrence has a 30-pound weight advantage and he decides to revert back to type and invite Richard into a wrestling contest, Richard's going to have it all to do. Ben Shalom, he's motivated. He's allowed Jamie TKV and Richard Riakporhe to fight on his Frank Warren card. So he wants W's. He wants to get one over on Frank. Ben Shalom is the most reluctant man to let his fighters fight on other platforms. He must be really hungry, desperate let's say, to get one over on Frank. Maybe there's a compromise. Ben lets TKV and Riakporhe fight on Frank's platform, and then Ben perhaps gets to promote Ben Whittaker versus Liam Cameron on Boxer and Sky. If that's what they're doing, I like it. Jamie TKV versus David Adeleye, very interesting. Jamie is 8-1, 5 inside the distance, 31 years of age, 6'4". David Adeleye, 13-1, 12 inside the distance, 28 years of age. He's 6'4.5". Big up Jamie, he's from the ends. I've met him before. Very nice kid. He's strong, he's determined, he likes putting the pressure on. Against Michael Webster last time out, Jamie secured a 9th round TKO victory. It wasn't a great fight. At times Jamie showed a good jab, which he does have, and he's not going to try and keep it long with David Adeleye. He's going to try and pressure David Adeleye. And with David Adeleye being trained by Adam Booth, and you see some of them David Hay moves, dropping his left hand low, luring you in for the big counter, I'd like to see Jamie use his jab, keep his chin tucked in, feel his way in, get a rhythm, and then try and put the pressure on David Adeleye. David looked spectacular last time against Solomon Dakers, but Jamie is more robust, has a better chin than Dakers, but you can't rely on that because David is explosive, right? The longer this one goes, the better TKV's chances increase.
There's nothing like an all-British heavyweight affair.
Dillian, 36 years of age, a record of 31 wins, 3 losses, 21 inside the distance, 6'4" with a 78-inch reach. Joyce, 39 years of age, with a record of 16 wins, 3 losses, 15 inside the distance, 6'6" with an 80-inch reach. Quick outline on the current form guide. Let's keep it real. Dillian hasn't had a good win since he beat Povetkin in the rematch in March 2021. Been knocked out by Tyson Fury. Since then, he's got popped for PED usage, which put the Anthony Joshua fight to bed. And then his last 2 fights against Christian Hammer and Ebenezer Tete are what they are. Joyce actually has a warm-up on the 1st of March before he fights Dillian on the 5th of April. He takes on Patrick Kirk. That's in Bournemouth. So he'll have a warm-up. Last time out, he was upset by an inspired Derek Chisora. We saw another inspired Derek Chisora weekend gone against Otto Wallin. Derek took a unanimous decision, flooring Joyce in the 9th round at the O2 July last year. Before that, Joyce looked uninspired against Cash Ali. He got a 10th round knockout, and his confidence was obviously affected by the 2 losses previously against Zhilei Zhang. So they're both going to be looking for an upturn in current form. Both of them are on the wrong side of 30. There will be considerable pressure on either one of them to perform. If either one of them loses conclusively, I could see them walking away. I could see them walking away from it. Although walking away from boxing is not something that I advocate boxers to do, because it's not my decision, and it's a decision that's often decided by finances anyway. No different than you not wanting to wake up to go work tomorrow. But if you don't, what are the consequences? Both men have gave us some very good nights of boxing. Both men. Both men have reached the top of their trade in terms of being contenders. Number 1 mandatory contenders. Both of them have been there. Dillian has had 1 crack at the title. Joyce is yet to have a shot at the title. Punch power. They both hit hard. Punch resistance. Joe was known as the indestructible juggernaut until a certain Zhilei Zhang came along. Stopped Joe on his feet first fight. Second time around, sparked him out. Knockout. Then he was dropped by Derek Chisora. Indestructible reputation gone. Dillian has been knocked out 3 times. Wear and tear, who has more as a result of their pro career. These are all intangibles that could make for a very good fight, because neither one is going to want to drop out of the boxing world's consciousness as a relevant player. They're both going to train very hard for this. I've heard some people say this isn't a good fight. These people are absolutely deluded. What's the word they keep using in boxing nowadays? Simon Jordan used it, Eddie Hearn used it, Sonny Edwards used it. Jeopardy. This fight has jeopardy. Not picking a winner yet. I will do. Base. I need to break it down a little more. I've got till the 5th of April. Frank Warren, Queensberry Promotions, also announced Anthony Cacace versus Lee Wood, Nottingham, May the 10th. I don't know if Lee Wood has signed anything in terms of a structured deal with Frank. Anthony Cacace signed to Queensberry. He's gave up his IBF £130 strap to take this fight. He didn't want to smoke with Eduardo Sugar Nunes. He's playing a risk-reward game. Gave up his title. I think he could be making a big mistake. I think he could be underestimating Lee Wood and how hard he punches and how accurate Lee can be. And if he does get knocked out, he would have got knocked out vacating his belt, not defending his belt. Lee Wood, he's got home advantage. This is one of the reasons he fell out of favour with Matchroom. They couldn't provide him that hometown fight. Frank's done that, and he's going to be extra motivated to put on a show for that Nottingham crowd. Whoever was promoting Josh Taylor around, let's say, 2018, 2019, 2021, when he was being named amongst the top pound-for-pound fighters, whoever decided to take him out of Glasgow is a f***ing idiot. Apologise, YouTube. A f***ing idiot. The Scots are no different to the English, where their national stars are applying their trade on the big stage. They turn up. Frank Warren, I remember he promoted them Alex Arthur world title fights, and they were very popular. You know, some of the biggest fights in that time period on Sky Sports, when Alex Arthur fought Michael Gomez, they were huge fights. They were big fights, very popular. And I think Frank is trying to do a rebuilding job with Josh Taylor, move him up to 147 in Glasgow, headlining against long-time Queensberry fighter at 147, Echo Esserman, former British Commonwealth champion himself. If Taylor can win and look good, I guess he, Frank Warren, and his team will put it down to he stayed too long at 140, hence the improvement. In saying that, Josh is 34 now. There's a lot of mileage on that clock, a lot of wear and tear on that body, I believe. Has he left it too late to move up? Echo himself is 35. A lot of these British boxers, man, they're getting on. A lot of them are getting on. I wouldn't be surprised if Echo beats him. I really wouldn't be surprised. But if Josh, who will be a favourite, he's the headliner, can bash Echo up, look good, Frank will be using him to spearhead a little run in the Scottish market, where he's done well already. With Alex Arthur, Scott Harrison. Yeah, I know what Frank's doing.
Boxing
beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.